I am Jarmo. I currently work as a software engineer at NLNet. But before this, I was actually working on my own project called Keyoxide. I will be talking a little bit about that, but mostly I just want to talk in general about the concept of like what we can do with identity on a federated network. So I'm glad that we had Lawrence give us a good definition of the Fediverse. Can I not even click? Surely, yeah, there we go. Because this was my definition for the Fediverse. It's just a decentralized social platform. There's a lot of details to it, like a lot of different software, a lot of different instances, as Lawrence explained to us. And this gives us a lot of freedom. So you can choose your own instance, you can set up your own instance, you can write your own software. This is the good thing about the Fediverse versus the walled gardens, where you're much more stuck to specific software choices and enjoy much less freedom. And so this is, to me, like this is one of the core benefits of the Fediverse. You can define how you want to be there. You can be anonymous or not. You can have multiple accounts or not. And also the fact that you can choose software and the fact that you can choose your instance makes migration very easy. You can just move if you don't want to be on a certain instance anymore. You can just move because you want to have your own instance. You can move because you want to have different accounts. So this is enabled by the way that the Fediverse is structured, by being around a protocol instead of being around a very specific piece of software. And if we look at the identifier on the Fediverse, so we always identify someone by their username and their instance. So that's very handy because, yeah, as soon as you make an account, you have an identifier, and this will always be unique. But it will be tied to your instance, meaning that you can have these weird scenarios where if you move and then you create a new account, then no one can actually know who you were on a previous instance. In general, this can be a feature, like if you just want to get a new fresh start, but if you do want to have a certain, if you do have contacts and you move and they need to know who you are, what are your new profiles, then it is kind of important to have that continuity and to actually be able to prove that you have those accounts. And this, we can look at this in a different way, like what does it cost the different parties when you leave a certain platform? So a walled garden will make it very difficult for people to leave because you have your network effect, you have all your people that are already on the same walled garden, on the same network. So it is difficult to leave. But for the platform, it is actually quite cheap. That's why it's so easy for Google and for Facebook to ban and delete accounts by the tens or by the hundreds every day, because it doesn't matter to them. Like, they already have so many people. They don't have to fight for you to stay on the network. And this is what we need to fix. And the Fediverse actually can help with this. So the cost of leaving, I guess, on the Fediverse for the user it's not low, because you do have a bit of a network effect. Like, you can still go to a different instance or go to a different piece of software and still enjoy like the same network. But for the people who already know you, like, you still lose that piece of identity. You still need to remake contacts and prove that once you migrated, that you do still have, that you are still the same person. I don't really know what the cost for the Fediverse is for the platform if you leave an instance. That really depends on the instance. There's not really an incentive structure to keep people. There are no ads in general. So yeah, it just depends. But we want to focus on making it easier for people to move around the Fediverse, because that's the whole point of it. Everyone is still connected, no matter where you are, no matter how you choose to connect to the network. So ideally what we want is for your identity to be separated from all your online accounts, and so that it becomes like this own thing where you can add accounts that you have, you can delete your accounts that you no longer use, and this is something that you can share independently from a specific account. So I can meet someone and I can be like, okay, well, this is my Matrix account, this is my Mastodon account, my PixelFed account, whatever, or even the big tech, social media. We can use those. So this kind of is reminiscent of like who has used Keybase? Has anyone used? Yeah. So for you who've used it, like you know about this identity feature where you can log into accounts and prove that you have them. Linktree, I guess, is a different one that also kind of does that, where you can create accounts. Like you create an account and then you can link your accounts. But it's mostly just like a list of accounts that you have. It doesn't actually verify that you do. You can't prove that you actually have that account. So this is where my project Keyoxide came in. So this is an example of a profile. It happens to be my profile. And so in this very case, I'm actually demonstrating, it's a bit smaller than I intended it to be, but that I have a certain Codeberg account where I can develop my code. I have a website. I have a Mastodon account, and on the top there, I even have a Matrix account, which I can actually prove that I have it. Now, I do kind of want to talk a little bit about how this process of verification works, because, well, everyone can make a website with just a little green tick, right? It needs to mean something. And we do have an app now, since not so very long. Well, actually, since about a year, 2 years maybe, by a friend, developer. Okay, so how does Keyoxide do this thing? So again, I'm talking about Keyoxide as an example of how this could be done, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, and that doesn't need to be only one way of keeping your identity separate from your accounts. There's definitely room for more projects to come in. So the way we use, the way we actually verify an identity online is by this thing that we call like bidirectional linking, where you link a claim and a proof. I'll talk about that more in a second. So the reason why we use cryptography is because it provides a source of uniqueness. If you create a new key, you create a unique fingerprint that only you can use. And this is how we create like passports kind of things, which is a document which will contain your claims. Again, I'll talk about those in a second. And the goal of the project was to make it decentralized. So it's for the verifiee. So you don't need to create an account on the Keyoxide website. In fact, that's still not possible. You create a key, you create a cryptographic document that you can store however you please, and that is publicly accessible. And then you decide, you decide how it is stored, how it is used. And it is also decentralized for the verifier. So you can use your own tool, you can use a website that shouldn't require a centralized server, so you don't need to trust it. You can also have like a local client on your computer that can also do the identity verification. So I put a little asterisk there because technically it doesn't need it. You don't need to use like servers. So the problem with the server, I guess, is you want to have the least amount of middlemen in the process, because you don't want to trust any third party that goes in between you and the party that you want to verify. So we do use currently like intermediary servers, just because it's easier. For example, Matrix, for example, there's no publicly accessible API to get information about a profile. You actually need to be logged in. You need to be part of the network, and so and you don't want to give credentials together with your app, or together with your local client. So we have a server that is logged in, and if one day it would actually be very handy to have the federated peaking in Matrix, so that we can even do more. Even do better identity verification. This is not the right way of asking it, but you don't have the co-founder of Matrix in your room every day, so might as well make use of it. And for ActivityPub, for example, there's this new secure mode, and for that I don't know if it's new, but like requests on a network need to be signed. And so for this, you need to have a server, you need to have an account. And so for our requests that Keyoxide makes, we have like a little fake ActivityPub server so that we can make signed requests. So these are all just arguments why technically you don't need a server, but it is handy to have it. But ideally in the future, your local client just does everything. I give you my identifier, my profile, and then you can just run it locally and you can actually verify that I am who I say who I am online. Okay, so let's talk about the claims and the proofs. So the claim, a claim is what I say that I have on the internet. So I claim to have a certain matrix account. I claim to have a certain Mastodon account. It looks like a URL, usually, and it will link to a certain proof. The proof itself is stored on the internet. It's stored on an account. Usually with Mastodon accounts, for example, or Fediverse accounts, it's put into like the profile bio, and it will actually link back to the claim or the location of the claim. We'll give an example here. So to do this whole process, so let's verify an identity claim. So I will give you my identifier for my profile. It looks a little bit ugly. There are ways around it, but for the example, let's use this example. So this is my key. This is my OpenPGP key, and it will have this fingerprint, and I will give this to you. Now, your tool or yourself, if you go into the code, you can try and look at what is inside this key or what document is signed by this key. And you will see this little text document, and it will have identity claims. So this means that whoever gave you this identifier says that, oh, I have this website, oh, I have this Mastodon account. Now, what you simply do is you go fetch whatever website is associated with one of those claims, and then you look at some information, and then it is a lower resolution, but you will find within the bio of the profile, you will find the same identifier of the profile. So this makes a nice little loop, and this means that only one and the same person could have done this. Like only one person could have made the profile, made the identity profile, and have made the account, and have put this little piece of data on both sides. And this is how we verify an identity claim. And where things get really interesting is once you start merging or combining those claims. Because all of a sudden I can say like, I have this matrix account, I have this Fediverse account, and I can switch Fediverse accounts. But because you will already know me, because I will also have this matrix account, you will know that whatever my new account is trustworthy and is made by the same person. So that's how you can have identity while being on the Fediverse, but having this identity separated for your convenience and for proving who you are with other people that you may or may never meet in real life. So currently there's a number of services that are supported by Keyoxide. There is a lot more on the way. People are working on that. There's Twitch, there's Discord, but also Ludum there, SSH keys. There's a lot of work going on right now. And I started at 11:40, right? Yes. So I'm already. Okay, let's try and see if we can do a real quick demo. So we, pardon me. So we just saw how you do it as a human. You look at the piece of code. You look at the. You visit the web page and you verify the account. You verify that both pieces of data are present on both sides, and hopefully. Let's see. Well, this is inconvenient because I need to look back now. So what if I gave you my a second profile that I have? We can also identify profiles with email addresses. Well, probably not. Yeah, there's probably a little thing going on between these two screens again. So I wanted to demonstrate you how the code does it, and how you can get the same result in using code, using like 2 curl requests. And it's very neat, and that's basically what Keyoxide does on the backside, because in the end, Keyoxide is just like an automation layer for this identity verification process. Let's see. Yes, and so the way Keyoxide was set up, it was inspired by how the Fediverse works. So Keyoxide should just be one of the tools. It shouldn't be the one. Ideally, so the way I always look at my project is just by looking at what would be the impact if I stopped working on it, or if it would actually disappear tomorrow. Ideally, all your accounts should still work. That's the whole point of it. And there's no reason it should all be tied to one piece of software or to one developer. And in this case, I do believe that works, because you can actually store, I mean, everyone can create a cryptographic key, and everyone can put a piece of data in the cryptographic keys. Sure, it's easier if there are tools for it, but everyone can do it. And it is actually stored on different servers, and not on Keyoxide servers. So so we do have that. There is currently an attempt to create a specification around what Keyoxide does. So again, the whole idea is to have other tools, to have other people create their own tools, so that there's liberty, there's choice, there's competition, and everyone and every tool works perfectly together. There's also an attempt to make it work with the DID specs and the verifiable credential specs, but that's all, yeah, work in progress. We definitely could use a lot more people involved in the project if this is something that you're interested in. And thank you very much for listening. So we have a website. The code is hosted on Codeberg, and we have a Matrix channel. We have a Matrix room, in fact. And the QR code is actually a link to my Keyoxide profile, so that you can actually check and verify who I am and trust that I am who I say I am.
Thank you, Jarmo. Any questions?
I don't know exactly understand what you try to do here, but it looks to me that you are trying to make a threshold lowering switching between different type of operators, or how we call it, to make sure that my presence is visible both on Telegram, Facebook, etc. All these things together to convince my friends, okay, come on, we should all go to Matrix because we all of them are there. That is the goal, effectively, of this project, if I understand correct.
It's not so much an incentive to push people to go to a certain platform, but it should help with the migration. So if you want to leave WhatsApp and you do want to go to you want to use Matrix or Telegram, so you can give your Keyoxide profile to someone and be like, well, we already know each other through this WhatsApp account. So you know that this profile, this Keyoxide identity profile, is the right one. It is really me. And now you can find other places where you can contact me.
Yeah, try to find alternatives for all of your friends, and then say, okay. Yeah. So that it would also be handy to have this kind of implemented in each of these tools themselves. So let's say, for example, in Matrix itself, you would like to see, well, I have also a Keyoxide description, and you can see all my connections, GitHub, and all these things together also here. That would be interesting. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people suggested it into a Matrix client, or on Mastodon server, so that you can just if you open your Fediverse profile on your very profile, it will give you those.
So it's the discovery of the presence of yourselves on different locations, effectively.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be very nice. So this project has for more than 3 years. I've basically only worked on it myself. So that was too much to actually get it integrated into clients. But since about a year or so, more people have started contributing, and
Okay.
That would be very nice to integrate into actual clients so that you don't need to go to Keyoxide and discover it yourself. Like, yeah, you can already discover it where you already are, and that's the whole goal. That's the point.
Okay, thanks for the answer.
I mean, I can give a concrete example from the Matrix side, where I didn't talk about identity in the previous talk at all, but the way in which we initially set up Matrix is that the Matrix IDs were never meant to be used by normal people. You are always meant to reference people by email address or phone number. And so to bootstrap things, we created these identity servers, which were centralized, run by the matrix.org Foundation. And it was a really, really simple thing that would verify email addresses and maintain a mapping of email through to Matrix ID. And it's a disaster because it is centralized, you just end up trusting the system, and people tend not to use it, thankfully. So I've been talking to Yamo over the last 2 or 3 years, very intermittently, saying, oh my God, Keyoxide would be amazing as a way where people could publish their own attestations that say, hey, this email address is me, this phone number is me, this is me on Twitter and everywhere else, and then, yeah, delegating through to it. The only reason that hasn't happened is bandwidth on our side, that as you heard, we've been frantically trying to make encryption work and messaging work, and we don't have anybody on the Matrix core team who loves identity. And it's really weird that you seem to get this split between people who focus on identity and then people who focus not on identity, and gluing the two together is not as easy as it could be. In IETF, the MIMI, the More Instant Messaging Interoperability Group, is also trying to solve this. And Google has proposed a solution using certificate transparency or key transparency when you publish on kind of a shared ledger all the attestations. And then Facebook also have their own solution, Apple have a solution as well. So I find it really exciting personally. I'm sorry, this isn't a question, it's a monologue. But I find it really interesting that this is basically the biggest unsolved problem on the internet right now. It is the PKI problem. How do you prove that you own a public key? And Keyoxide, as far as I know, is the only promising open source solution to this, unless the Mimi guys come up with something. And good luck, and we're all counting on you.
Thanks. So this monologue does remind me of like one detail. So for currently, Keyoxide cannot verify an email account. Because the whole point of this thing is that you shouldn't trust Keyoxide to do the verification for you. And an email address, like to verify an email address, the simplest way would be to send an email and then have some way of getting the data back. And that is not possible with email because, yeah, you need there's no API for that. So yeah, that's one of the concept to keep in mind. Like the whole goal is that the verifier can do everything themselves. If you want to verify someone's profile, you can do it fully locally. You can just make a few API calls. And that's why, yeah, people have been asking for email verification because, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But there's no easy way to do it. So you have to probably work with some kind of certificate and then be like, okay, we trust that this certificate indeed proves that the email address is an authentic one.
Can you please explain why it's difficult to do email verification? Because a lot of people use two-factor authentication. I mean, that's how it's done, right? Yeah.
So it is easy to verify. It is very simple to do an email verification system. But then if you proved your email address with the platform, then I couldn't verify on my end that you did that verification. I would have to ask the server that did your verification. How do I say this? Like a verification usually is like, for example, you give an email address, and they give you you get sent a link. You click on the link, and then that makes the connection. But me as a third party, how do I know that you got the email and that you clicked on the link? I would have to ask the server that did the verification. Yeah, but I would still have to trust that you did the process, right? And the only way for me to know that the process went fine is just by asking the server, and then the server's like, yeah, it went fine. But how do I trust the server? And this method is there's no one to trust in the middle. I just request your profile on Mastodon, and Mastodon is like, well, this is the whole profile, and like it doesn't try and look for data. It doesn't try to prove anything. Just say this is the profile, and then you as the verifier is like, okay, I'm going to look for this little piece of data that does the verification. So you can do the verification locally yourself, and yeah, that's not feasible with email in a reliable. Yeah, you would have to use a certificate. That is a perfectly viable solution, but that is not what Keyoxide was aimed to solve.
Any other question? We got 10 minutes, but we don't have to use all that 10 minutes if no more questions. But I think this is a very interesting topic in a decentralized, federated network. How do you prove this thing yourself? Is that right? That's what you're trying to, rather than relying on a third-party server to do that.
I have a question.
Go for it. Yeah, so ask as many questions as possible, because my talk's a little bit shorter. I'm falling in for someone who couldn't be here.
So on the email thing, sorry, I know it's your favorite subject. Is there a reason you can't use DKIM certificates to verify that the sender, well, the MTA who is sending on behalf of that user is actually vouching for the identity of the sender? I've never understood why people don't look at the DKIM headers, or DKIM, however you pronounce it, which basically are a certificate to say, hey, I am actually sending this on behalf of the real Yarmo. Any idea?
I haven't looked at emails in quite a few years now, like at this technical level. I'm sure there must be ways of doing it.
Would that also the spam email will also go through that process?
I guess spam typically either won't have DKIM or it will prove itself to be spam.
But would you still would need like to receive an email, right? Like an email needs to be sent.
Yeah. So you would still, but I guess it's still something that you might be able to execute yourself. Because you can look at the email that you've received. Now you send me an email saying, hey, I prove that I am me. Your mail server will basically vouch for you. And then on Keyoxide, you can replay the email and basically treat it as an attestation. Yeah. So I'm wondering if it might actually integrate with your model, because it doesn't require a server to exist. It doesn't require a third party. It's data that the user has themselves, and they can check the certificate, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know what I'm saying. I just don't know why people aren't doing it. There must be a good reason.
Well, it might just work. Actually, a lot of time, a lot of effort goes into this whole process. We have this entire discussions of like discussing with people like oh, what API do we know that we can use? What kind of field of data that can we use? So yeah, there's a lot of like for every new service, there's a lot of like talking about how do we do this. So this is definitely something that I can throw into the group, and yeah, might just work. That would be nice actually if it did.
Okay, I think that will work.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for your sharing of these new techniques, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next,